The pipes might burst.
Yeah, yeah, the first. That's funny. Yeah, so I think yeah, this is our first ever live stream. It's not really live, but it's an attempt at a live stream.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is we're going to be talking about technology and AI, and we can't figure out how to get a live streaming on for us. It's actually pretty bad, man.
That's why we need AI because it's supposed to do all this stuff for us, right? It's supposed to take care of, you would think a big company like Google, you just click, like the user should have to click like two buttons on YouTube and be able to do this live, no problem. But I had to do
Yeah.
all this trying to figure things out and software and blah blah blah.
Also,
So
platforms don't like sharing their technology with others, right? It's not open to all of it. Apple is notorious for that, where they're just going to make one type of product specific to what can be input and output from it.
mm-hmm.
Biggest frustration, I was talking to you earlier today, got a MacBook, spent $3,000 on it, and it doesn't have a USB port. They want you to buy the add-ons, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's a evil genius.
Yeah, it is. I think it's pure evil. I mean, they started off with the head. Remember, they took out the headphone jack first,
Yep.
and everyone's like, "No headphone jack." Then all of a sudden, Bluetooth headphones came out and wireless. They tried to sell you the AirPods, and then now they're stripping all the ports. You got to buy all these dongles and stuff. So
Because
I don't
this
know.
stuff is,
I don't know if that's a result of them trying to make the computer smaller and slimmer, or if that's just like they're trying to sell you more product without making it seem that way, right?
yeah, they're obviously making it a little bit lighter, and also, like they got rid of the CD-ROM portion
Mm-hmm.
of it, the component of it, and then they made that as an outlet as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as you know, we don't do nothing with CD-ROMs. We just straight download whatever we need.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
So I'm
talking
wondering if they're
like
just ahead
CD.
of the curve.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yo, you just dated yourself, bro. Like they call them CDs, not CD-ROMs,
Oh,
but
CD-ROMs.
they are
What are CD-ROMs?
CD-ROMs.
What are CD-ROMs?
They are CD-ROMs, but no one calls them CD-ROMs. They just call them CDs. Yo, speaking of Apple, one of the main reasons I want to do this, it's a great segue to the next thing. Apple, I don't know if you heard this. I think I texted you about it, but Apple is dropping their ads on Twitter. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did. A
Yeah,
lot of
so yeah, so just for like I guess just for the audience that's going to be tuning into this, I think Elon had a tweet that he agreed with. Someone posted something, and it could be seen as anti-Semitic, and
yeah,
then Elon acknowledged that it was the truth. And then there's a company in the middle called Media Matters, and
yeah.
what Media Matters did is they created this. We don't know if it's like there's two sides of an argument, but Media Matters started this article saying that that Twitter will put advertising dollars, like they'll have ads from Apple and other companies right beside like hateful comment or hateful content.
Yeah.
And so this article started to spread. I guess Apple dropped their advertising off of X or Twitter. Disney did the same, and I think there's a few companies that did that.
They did that in the beginning as well, like 6 months ago, 6 or 8 months ago,
Yeah,
where they were talking about hate speech.
right.
And they pretty much went in and they said, um, let everything go. Just whatever people want to post, let it post. And I can't remember who it was, one of the directors or counselors or somebody in like middle management said, actually, you know what? We need some sort of protocol or some sort of system in place to
Mm-hmm.
stop like terrorist threats
Right.
or trafficking, drugs. Like
For
there
sure.
needs to be some sort of parameter to monitor that. But
Mm-hmm.
everything else, they said just let it go up. And remember, racism went up by 500%. That
Mm-hmm.
was the first thing that went up. It was racism. It
Yeah.
just shot up because nothing was being monitored, nothing was done, and then they
Right.
started scaling back. Right?
Right. So
Figure
you
out
mean like racism went up, as in like people were making more
the
racist
comments. The
comments?
comments. Yes.
Right.
The
But
amount of material that was available online now because it wasn't being monitored or they weren't
right.
being what's that term used to stop people from like saying those things? There's either prompts or
Mm,
there's some sort of thing where if you try to type it in or you try to share the message, it just
mm,
won't share
mm.
because it's hateful. You know how we get
Right.
that on Instagram
Yeah,
sometimes
like
when
you're
we try to
talking
post
about
videos?
hateful comments were being screened.
Yeah, of course.
Or
So
yeah,
when they removed that one algorithm out of Twitter or
yeah,
X, or well, Twitter at the time,
right,
the comments that were coming in, it
yeah,
was like an increase of 500%, which goes to show that people did not stop.
right,
People were still trying to be racist online,
right,
but
for sure.
it just opened up the
Yo,
floodgates.
so okay, this is why this conversation is really important. I guess we're gonna have a little bit of a debate too. Um, so like here's why it's so important to have free speech and also a platform that isn't too strictly regulated. Okay. And so in this case, you talk about how racism went up 500%. Now it's so
The volume
important.
of messages.
The volume of racist messages, right, went up 500%.
Yeah.
Now, who's reporting this information and what do they get out of it? So in this case, like what happened this weekend, or this, I think it was Friday over this weekend, Media Matters is a company that's known for doing this stuff. They're being sued. I think they've had issues like this before.
Yeah.
So, but if you read into it, this company literally gets something out of spreading propaganda or whatever, just advertising what they see, right? Or they, again, you don't ever know if it's contrived, right?
No, you won't know.
So that's why it's like, how do you create a platform that is totally free, like free as in like no regulations, nothing, still have some, but also not have these stories come out of the blue and saying, oh, this, Twitter's hate comments went up. I don't know if you remember this, but Elon Musk did a interview with BBC, where he called the reporter out for being for lying. Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
that was like I think that was last year when he first got
Yeah.
on Twitter, when he first
Right.
became the CEO of Twitter.
Right. So he pressed the guy because the guy's like, yeah, I've seen the hateful comments go up. He's like, name one tweet that you saw that was hateful, and he's like, I
Yeah.
can't. He's like, well, then I think you're lying,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's why, like, when I hear stuff like, certain things go up, I'm like, I don't know if it's true,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't see anything more hateful than before.
Well, if
Um,
it was suppressed, I think it's a matter of suppression. And when all of that was being monitored and suppressed, those comments weren't available. However, these certain groups, when
right.
it was made readily available for them to just say whatever they want, that
For
stuff
sure.
just started popping up even more.
For sure. For sure.
Like,
So I don't know, as like a company like Apple, it's kind of like a weird gray area, right? Because Apple's taking the stance of like, oh, we're not going to advertise on X because of Elon's tweet or because of this report that our ads are next to like whatever, like pro or anti-Semitic content.
mhm.
It's a hard stance for Apple to take because now I feel like a distrust with a company like Apple. Because now
Why?
it's like because now it's because they're not on the side of free speech. Whereas
Right.
they will support platforms that will let them push a certain agenda. So that doesn't make me trust them,
Yeah. Man, I
right?
don't get into like political debates, especially when it comes down to these type of comments.
For sure.
There's going to be people out there that say negative things and just stay away from the frequency of them. And the hope is that you do enough good that
Mm,
it overpowers the negativity. There's always going to be more negative people because it's easier for victim to be a victim,
mm-hmm.
right? Than
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
actually go and address your own issues and try to
Right.
resolve and fix them.
For sure. For
So
sure.
this is actually good. Let's just actually segue into OpenAI. What's happening with those guys?
Yeah. So yeah, obviously over this
How much
weekend,
do you know? How much do you know?
I know enough. I know enough, but not like obviously I'm not in their, in their room where they're talking about all this stuff secretly.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but
yeah,
having gone
yeah.
through situations like this personally, I kind of have an idea of like the type of politics that happen, right? So
Yeah.
Sam Altman, he's the CEO, and I think he was the founder of OpenAI.
And
OpenAI is
they're
the
the ones that
company.
open up Chat GTP.
Yeah, so they own ChatGPT. They made ChatGPT. Um, Out of nowhere on Friday, I think it was, Sam Altman was terminated. Like he's
Yep,
gone from the company.
yep.
And I think he was supposed to do like a talking thing over the weekend too. So, anyways, I don't know where he gets terminated, which is big news because AI is like, arguably the most revolutionary technology that's coming up in the next decade. It's supposed to change the way we interact with our world.
Yep.
And the guy that's pioneering that, pushing this envelope forward, gets terminated out of the blue.
Yep.
So obviously something's going on there.
So
Nobody knew about it. You know, it was kind of very subtle and just like, you know, the whole weekend was chaotic because there was like Sam Altman's gone, then all of his closest executive team was like ready to resign. There was a whole
I'll give you a
petition going
timeline.
around.
I'll give you a timeline. So I
Yeah.
found the timeline. So November 17, and this is this year. So just 4 days ago, Altman publicly fired. Interim CEO is announced. The following days, within 24 hours, the media outlet is going crazy. They're saying, oh my God, what's happened? Altman is in shock. He doesn't know where this is coming from. Investors push for Altman's return. This is where the backlash is starting to come from the employees, right? This is day number
Yeah.
two, November 18. They go to November 19. A new interim CEO is appointed. So obviously behind the scenes, like things were already in play to kind of fast track it because they can't let this company has like 500, 800 employees and they don't want it to be just too gung ho. And then November 20th, which was yesterday, Altman joins Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the crazy thing, within these 3 days, like within the first day of him being fired and then the investors pushing for Altman's return, 500 employees, 90% plus of the employees, they went and they said, hey, you know what? We're going to write an open letter to the board of directors. If you don't bring us back, if you don't bring him back in, we're going to follow him out the door. What happens? He's in conversation with Microsoft and they're like, okay, looks like we're all going to Microsoft.
Yeah.
And now the conversation's kind of swung full circle of
Yeah.
how do we readjust it to bring Altman back?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? So now, but I think I don't know if you went over this, but I heard one of his demands was to get rid of the board, to change the members of the board.
You know why? It's there. I was looking at their structure. I'm gonna pull it up on my phone. There the entire corporate structure, it's so convoluted. I was trying to figure out how and what who has power and where the decisions are being made. And it
Mm-hmm.
seems like at the very end, it just goes back to the board of directors, but there's ways to kind of oversee it or over like push different boundaries, but it
Mm-hmm.
always goes back right to the top. You know how
Right.
like board of directors are responsible to talking like they're responsible for making decisions based on shareholders to make sure they benefit the most.
Mm-hmm.
OpenAI's shares are like the highest amount value wise. Like their value is at the highest, and for them to actually remove Altman, I still don't know why. I didn't like dig in deep enough,
Mm-hmm.
but that's kind of today's research was why did they even need to remove him? Like, what did he do or say that they needed to like move on it? Because this
Right.
decision is not made overnight.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just show up on
Just
November
the
18th and be like,
speed.
we're gonna fire Altman.
Yeah, exactly. And just the speed at which they replaced him, like
Everything was in play.
it had to have been planned, right?
Man, this is like a mob hit.
It's crazy.
This is exactly how mob hits happen.
It's crazy. Yeah,
Like,
it's like a business mob hit, right?
yeah, it's like we're taking out the
Yo,
head.
it's like it's corporate execution.
Corporate espionage is what it is, man.
Yeah. So yeah, that whole thing was so crazy because I was sitting there reading about it all go down. So here's a question for you. If you're Sam Altman and now you've got OpenAI that's like trying to get you back, and you can go back to OpenAI where you work with all your existing staff that you've worked with for the last whatever 5-10 years. He's been there for a while, or you go to Microsoft and maybe bring some talent over and start again. What would you do if you're Sam Altman?
He's already done it once. Um, I'll use the same example of what happened with Tim Cook. He was kicked out.
Steve
He
Jobs.
he went and opened up Pixar.
Mm-hmm.
They brought him back, and he continued like revolutionizing.
Was that Tim Cook or Steve Jobs?
Was it Steve Jobs? Yeah, you're
Steve
right.
Jobs left and started some software company called Next Product or whatever
There
it
was
was.
something, and he was
Yeah, yeah. Steve Jobs, I think.
Steve Jobs. There's so many, man.
They all do that.
Whatever it was Pixar. Pixar Studios was which was open up
Yeah.
in lieu of them getting removed.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
shit.
I'm pretty sure it was Steve Jobs. I don't know if Pixar was part of it, but I'm pretty confident it was Steve Jobs. You can pull it up just so that we're giving out accurate information. So question, do you go back to
Yes,
to
Steve Jobs went to he opened up Pixar,
okay, he did, right?
digital animation.
Yeah. So do you leave if you're Sam Altman? Do you go to Microsoft or do you stay at OpenAI?
Uh, so apparently right now the conversation with the CEO of Microsoft is that everything is going to work in favor of Steve Altman.
Mm-hmm.
Whichever employees want to leave, they can actually leave and come on over. And he's like, we will have placement for them here.
Right.
There's technically some sort of a
But
partnership.
you got to decide. There's a gun to your head. What do you do
Oh,
and
what do I
why?
do? Oh man, if there's a way to remove the board of directors, I'd remove the board of directors and go back to the company that's fully functioning, right? Then
Yeah.
restarting.
Yeah.
Because everything's in play. Why would you want to reset it?
Yeah, exactly. I think that is the big thing is the board of directors has to go. And if they don't leave, then
Yeah.
Sam should go to Microsoft because there's
Because
no trust
right now,
anymore. There's no
no,
trust
and you know
anymore.
what the thing is? It's right now the fight is over like the capacity over time. How much time do you have to become the best AI technology company?
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a lag with him trying to restart it at a different company, whether it's a year, 6 months, or even 3 months, there's
Yeah,
other competitors that are just going to overtake it.
for sure. For sure. And then trust, like just again, business aside, like how do you work with a company that's previously trying to get rid of you? So that's what I mean. It's like the board of directors needs to go for Sam Altman. If I was Sam Altman, I'd be like, board of directors has to go, which is one of his requests, or he can leave to Microsoft. But I want to read something to you. So Ilya Sutskever. I know I'm not saying his name properly.
You see?
Let me find him. So he is he co-founded and serves as a board member and chief scientist of OpenAI. So he's one of the board members. So hear this. This is yesterday he tweeted this. I deeply regret my participation in the board's actions. I never intended to harm OpenAI. I love everything we've built together, and I will do everything I can to reunite the company.
I wonder how scared he is of losing his
And
position.
then here, I mean, that's the negotiation right now. But hear this. This is Elon Musk. I fucking love Elon.
Yeah.
Why did you take such a drastic action? If OpenAI is doing something potentially dangerous to humanity, the world needs to know. That's it.
That's a
And
good
then
question.
obviously he didn't answer back. But I mean, I think that's the big question on everyone's mind. Is like usually conflicts do come up in business, but there's a way to resolve it. Not just you're gone, no heads up, nothing, get out of here, right? Like that's a mistreatment of someone that's a very special person. Again, built Chat GPT, OpenAI. I
Yeah.
just don't think you. It's hard to come back from treating someone like that. No trust at
Own
all,
company.
right? Yeah, and then speaking of Elon, I love Elon because again, his stance is always like, how do I protect people and humanity? Which I don't know if it's a ploy, but again, if I look at his actions over the last whatever years, it seems like he does actually just genuinely care, right?
Yeah, it's a track record is what you got to follow.
Yeah,
The other thought I have is he must have been a pretty great leader that 95% of the company wants to follow him out the door.
yeah. I think he, from like what I've read on him, he's like a super people person.
Because most
He's
companies,
very
whenever
favored.
there's takeovers,
Yeah.
hundreds of $1 million to like multi-billion dollar deals, uh, compensation packages are given to remove people. And
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft Satya Nadella, who's the CEO of Microsoft, said, "Hey, doors are open. Whatever people we need to kind of start Altman's, I guess, reintroduction or reinvigorization of
Right.
starting OpenAI again or some sort of AI technology, they're more
Right.
than welcome. Because then that's just going to speed up the process for Microsoft.
For sure. Yo,
And
I'm not gonna lie, it's such a power play move by Microsoft too.
oh,
So
100%.
Microsoft looks like the savior. They came in and saved, gave him a job, gave him security, giving him the runway. And then also like Microsoft's just been so dominant over like the last 10 years. I think I was telling you this. I think Microsoft will be a bigger company than Apple in the next 5 years. I think they're like 2.7 trillion and Apple's like 3 point something trillion. But I think Microsoft will actually get ahead because
How or
huh?
why? Why?
I think they're just innovating more. They're taking more risk, but they're finding more solutions for both their commercial streams and even residential, like consumers.
Yeah.
They just announced recently that they're going into chips. So you know
Yeah.
how artificial intelligence, which is that next gen platform, needs these chips
Mhm.
to compute all the data. And that's why if you look at Nvidia this year, they had such a good growth this year, is because they're the ones that make the chip.
Yes.
But now Microsoft is going into chips, right?
Yeah.
And then their cloud revenue is growing, so that's another big category. If you look at companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, they're all going into like cloud businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. I pay $3.89 per month for 100 GB.
Yeah, yeah. But Microsoft is growing, so they're delivering on kind of every aspect. So yeah, I think Microsoft, and then again, just like Apple's strategy for business is like closed circuit. Like when they get you, they want to keep you in their ecosystem.
Yes, they do.
Whereas Microsoft has more of a whatever it's called, the TAM, but Microsoft can go after more people because they're not trying to trap you. They're trying to give you freedom.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
use our software and you can use Google software. We don't care. We want to provide you the best service. Apple's like, when you come into cloud, you can't use any other product.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Like, you want blue text messages? You want blue text messages? You can't go to any other Apple device, or you can't go to a non-Apple device.
Yeah. Actually, I
But
didn't understand what the significance of green and blue bubbles were
yeah,
until I got an Apple phone, and I just realized just a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, ah, this person's got green bubbles.
it sucks,
I'm like, this is kind of weird because the
dude. I
sharing
hate it.
ability for pictures, for videos, the
Yeah,
the calling, for video calling, it's all like it's gone. I can't do it with this person. I have to open up other platforms to actually
yeah,
have a conversation with this person.
dude, and it's annoying because like just little things like seeing that the message was delivered and read,
Yeah.
so important. I mean, I get a lot of I do a lot of my communication on WhatsApp, which is owned by Meta and Facebook,
Yep.
but kind of similar, right? It's just it starts to feel very enclosed.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's everything that's going on in the market. I think I had a couple more things. Actually I wanted to talk to you about real estate, especially in the lower mainland,
Yep.
because I think. Sorry, I was just looking at my phone. But yeah, real estate in the lower mainland. I think, obviously knowing that we're from BC and the lower mainland, a
Yeah.
lot of our audience people, our subs are, they live here too. So, what could be really relevant for them is what's happening in the real estate market.
Yeah.
And no one better to ask than Karn himself.
There you go. So actually, you know what? I've actually got a few theories and a few ideas that I've started just looking at where I don't have to be fully invested in my time to just research everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just have a bigger picture, right? So I don't know if you noticed this in the last like 1 or 2 weeks. Did you see the gas prices coming down?
I didn't notice. No.
They came all the way down to like
What are they,
dollar
170 right now?
65, 170, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, great. I'm like, gas prices are coming down, inflation is coming down. And then when I looked at the reports, I mean, this isn't like science that I'm using. I'm just basing this off a larger picture, right? Of what's actually happening in the market. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever gas prices start coming down, you see that interest rates have also fallen a little bit. They're
Mm-hmm.
closer to 3% now, which is good because the expected change for the rates was interest rates, not interest rates, sorry. Inflation rate was supposed to be 3.5, and it's
Mm-hmm.
at like between 3.1 and 3.2 right now, which
Right.
is far greater than what the expectation was.
Right.
So now that we have gas prices, we have inflation. The third thing that's going to come down is the interest rates. They remain stable last time.
Right.
More than likely, 3 to 6 months from now, if everything stays on the pace that it is,
Mm-hmm.
rates should come down a little bit.
Right.
And another thing that happened yesterday, I was talking to one of my mortgage brokers at TD Bank. Uh, I said, hey, I'm getting calls from clients. Their trigger rate is being hit. I'm like, I'm reading reports of fixed rates coming down. Isn't there a reflection of fixed rates coming down and variable rates also following suit? And he said, you know what? He's like, sometimes there's an inverse effect to it. He's like,
Mm.
fixed rates will come down, but then variable rates will go up. And it might have to do with the banking system of how to get people to fix in their rates because the variable is higher, knowing that in the future, rates
Right.
will come down and people will be locked into these rates.
Mm.
That's the way I'm thinking is
So
happening.
you
I
think
don't know
they
if
do
it's
that? You
true.
think banks control that short term just to get people to lock
Well,
in?
yeah, like 0.15, 0.2%, 0.1% going up or down. They do have control over that
Right.
because there's always different programs that are happening throughout the year.
Right.
Because it's artificial manipulation,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because they want to control the amount of supply and demand, and
Right.
depending on the targets they need to hit throughout the year.
Right.
And so they're doing that. So a couple things happen. Rates are on hold, like interest rates are on hold. Fixed rates have come down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Bonds are down. Gas
Mm-hmm.
prices are down. These
Mm-hmm.
are all positive things that are happening. Like my projection for 2024, after talking to many people in the industry,
Right.
is it's going to be like an elastic band, man. There's just a huge stretch in it. And as soon as rates, there's a feeling, there's a noticeable determination from the banks and the government that they're going to push the rates down, that
Mm-hmm.
elastic band is going to go and people are just going to start buying. And what's
Yeah.
going to be happening is because there's such low inventory, the
Right.
bidding is going to come back.
The what's going to come back?
The bidding, the multiple bidding,
Okay. You think we're going to go back to that?
100%.
Really? You do
Actually, I
think?
shouldn't say 100% because that's just being egotistical of my kind of brain telling me that, oh, yeah, it's going to totally happen. You
Yeah.
don't really know what's going to happen.
Right.
The Because I like to make kind of assumptions of what's happening in the world and with our rates to be able
Yeah.
to get my clients deals, right? And the idea is if there's a potential for it to go into multiples in the next 6 to 12 months, where
Right.
the market starts going up because interest rates are coming down, how do
Right.
we capitalize on the potential appreciation?
Right.
Because we all know that we're not making money off of paying down our mortgage. That's just a safety net of having a home.
Yeah.
We're actually making money off of appreciation. And
Right.
you know this more than anybody because of the property that you bought.
Right.
You stole it,
Right.
you got a steal of a deal, you let
Mm-hmm.
the market do whatever it did, you paid a
Yeah.
few $1,000s in interest, but then all of a sudden your property is worth like $200,000 more. That
Yeah.
didn't happen because you made mortgage payments.
Yeah. What's funny is we had someone actually approach us that wants to live in that area and wants to buy that house
Of course, there's tons of
just
people.
recently. So I'll tell you what I think is going to happen with the market. I think interest rates will come down. So I follow like American market a little bit more than the Canadian economy. And the reason I follow the American economy is because of my stock investments, because it's more liquid, right? So I can make adjustments. Whereas my real
Yeah,
estate in Canada, I don't focus on it as much because I'm not going to sell a house because the interest rates change a little bit.
yeah, of course.
But my stocks I will change rapidly based on what's happening in the market. So this website, you can look it up later. It's called Trueflation.
Yeah,
And this website actually finds pretty much they do their own study independent of the government of what the inflation rate is.
right.
And so right now, Trueflation is saying that the current inflation rate is 3.13%. The last government reported was 3.2.
Yep.
So the high interest rates are working. Like inflation is coming down.
Mm-hmm.
Even the U.S. stock market shows that, right? The
Yep.
U.S. stock market shows that the inflation is coming down, and that's why company stocks are rallying. They're going up back to all-time highs.
Yeah, they are.
In Canada, I don't. Again, I'm not familiar with the Canadian economy as much. Just based on my experience, though, I see a slow taper where you're not going to see that elastic band kind of snap in demand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna drag this out. I think people have money. I don't think we're gonna see like a bust. Like you know how everyone's doom and gloom, like the economy's gonna fall apart. I don't see a crash. I don't see
No,
like a
there's no,
big
I
I
don't
don't
see
see
it.
like a 30% drop in housing prices unless there's another black swan event and some bank goes under, which is unlikely in Canada.
Yeah.
But I also don't see like a multiple offer scenario. Um, I think okay, if I was a buyer, I would probably try to buy in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't think I see that snapback in demand. But right now, when interest rates are high, is the best time to actually get a deal. And like, you're taking advantage of a tough market. Um, and I think you have negotiation. Like right now, it's a buyer's market. Like you can negotiate, you can get the prices you want.
Yep.
So I think the next 6 months will, if you're looking at real estate and you want to get into the market, I think right now is like a great time to get in.
Yeah. I'm gonna add on to that.
Yeah.
the reason why it makes sense to buy now is because even if you look at pre-sales, like people that don't want to spend 2 million, 1.5 or $2 million on a single family house,
Mm-hmm.
if you go to a lot of these pre-sale centers, they're giving huge incentives for their buyers to come through the door. Like
Mm-hmm.
one, their prices are already they're projected for what the future will be, but now they've reduced those prices. They've given additional incentives. They're also willing to cover strata fees and sometimes mortgages up to a year,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's huge because that correction period of 2 to 3 years is where the appreciation is going to happen.
For sure.
And that's always the hope. And the thing is, it's never guaranteed. And I always tell all my clients this as well. Don't bank on the idea that you're going to make so much money off of it. You need to have the capability of closing on your pre-sale, regardless of what the scenario is, regardless of if whether the interest rates go up by 1% or by 5%. You should
Exactly.
be okay for it. Now, luckily, the people that are completing now that were trying to assign their properties,
Mm-hmm.
the rental market's gone up. So
Right.
again, it's still in the favor of the buyer. Like their costs are still being mitigated by other people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly.
They might not like it because now they're holding onto a property that they can't sell for the next X amount of time, but they're not losing much either. And also, when I'm thinking about appreciation as well, if you're paying an additional 500, 700, or even $1,000 a month, and
Mm-hmm.
that's going to cost you 10 to 15 or $20,000 a year just in additional cost of putting towards one of your properties, man, some of these single family houses are going to go up by like 50 to $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a small investment for the bigger picture.
Right.
The thing is,
Yeah.
it has to be sustainable for what your living standard is and the type of jobs that you do. You never want to force yourself to get in a position of overspending and now you're just working to pay down the bills.
For sure. Yeah, that's really important. I think, and one of the ways I've done that is by creating partnerships with people. I think
Yeah.
most of my new ventures, anything I go into, I try to create good long-term partnerships. Podcasts with Karn, real estate with my cousins, like business
Yeah.
with my friends. So like I literally try to create the best partnerships so I can take advantage of markets and situations that come up. Right, it's life.
Yeah.
So,
Hey man, speaking of business and
yeah.
partnerships, how important do you think it is to get contracts together, get them firmed up by a notary or get a lawyer? Or are you the type of person to just do it off a handshake and just, it goes?
A bit of both. A bit of both. As I've gotten older, I've preferred the contracts and not for any particular reason. It's just to protect both parties.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people, like I've done business with trust in the past, but you never know someone's true intention until times get rough and then that comes out. Because
Yeah.
when everything's great, everyone's like, yeah, it's the best, the best. Everyone's all happy. But when things start to get like bumpy, that's where you start to see people do things that like, I didn't expect this person to do this. So
Yeah.
So
They're
as I've gotten
their
older,
intentions.
more towards contracts. In general, I've done handshake deals, which have worked out. Which it really
Yeah.
depends. It just depends on yeah, it just depends on the person really.
Yeah.
But I look at track record. I look at what they've done before. I look at how people speak about them publicly. So I try to
Mhm.
find out more information than just that. But a bit of both for sure. How about you? Are you one way or the other?
Oh, I love just doing deals, just handshake,
Yeah,
right? But just like you, over certain experiences, you realize that protecting yourself and your family and your business is more
yeah,
important than just getting into this idea that everything's going to work out.
one hundred
So
percent.
taking a little bit more caution to review things. And the thing is, when you're putting something together like that, you're putting your intentions up front. They're very
Yeah,
clear.
yeah.
And there's definite answers of what needs to be done if something does go sideways.
For sure. For sure.
Everybody
I,
has to
I
be
will
held
say,
accountable.
I will say, it's not bad to ask for help.
No, it's
And
not.
here is like the number one go-to way to find out if you're partnering with the right person.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you approach me for business, Karn, and we're talking about it. We're like coming close to terms.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's up to you how you do it, but I would say like, oh, I'm going to get a lawyer involved to look over this contract. Now if the person that you're going into business with is not okay with that, they're probably
Yeah,
not the right person to partner with,
it's not. No.
because someone that truly has good intent and wants you to do well, will be like, yeah, absolutely. What information can it provide you? Like they would actually encourage you to go find legal help.
Yep.
Right. Not, they wouldn't use guilt and emotional turmoil to try to get money from you or anything like that. So yeah, I think again, it's one of the easy ways to snuff someone out is like just tell them you're going to get a lawyer involved and see how they respond.
Yep. Yep. And those people usually tuck tail and run.
Yeah, that's it. You just say, oh, like if they're like, no, like you can trust me. I was like, hey, all right, we're not doing this.
So actually, so this is in partnerships. Definitely get something that's ironclad
Yeah,
that keeps everybody responsible for what they're supposed to be doing. On
yeah,
the other side, when I'm providing a customer service, for
right.
me, because I have a certain level of standard where I practice my business,
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm going to show up when it's time to work. So I
Exactly.
actually leave it in the hands of the client or the customer to make the decision on their own.
Right.
I tell them flat out, if you don't want to sign this exclusive agency with me,
Mm-hmm.
which we always want to do, we always want to have some sort of agency in place to
Mm-hmm.
get people to work with us. And we know that they're not capable of just like doing their own thing after.
Right.
Thought also comes is if I can't retain your business, then I have no right working with you anyways.
Right.
Yeah, if I promise you something in the beginning and then I have this contract that keeps us binding and they want to get out of it, but I'm not letting them go, but I'm also not providing the service, then
Mm-hmm.
what good am I doing either party?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it just
Yeah.
comes down to what's right and what's wrong,
Right.
right? And we always want to do what's right. And obviously, knock on wood, business has been good, and the customers and clients that we've been working with is great too. And I think now it's like because you work with so many different people, um, there's no actual need of wanting to bring people in for your own sake of feeling some sort of accomplishment. You want
Mm-hmm.
to like I actually want to vet people to bring
Yeah. Yeah.
into a circle.
Exactly.
Before it's
Exactly.
like bring everybody on. I want all the business, take it all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you
Yeah. It's
realize that some
important.
people are time wasters. They're working with multiple agents, and that's not fun either. Because then it just feels like you've just been
Exactly.
used.
Well, I think it's just like any relationship. You set your boundary and see how they respond to your boundaries. And if it doesn't fit your boundaries, then you have to let them walk, right?
That's it.
Or even
Business
drop them.
relationships
So
are just another part of your interpersonal skills and relationships, right?
it's all just human relationships all connected. And then cool. So speaking of investments, one last thing we could talk about before we sign off for the day. I don't know if you noticed this, but over the last 2 weeks, cryptocurrency has made a resurgence.
Yeah.
Um, in the last month, let me actually get you some data. In the last month, Bitcoin is up 23%
Yeah.
and 137% this year. So if you bought Bitcoin at the beginning of this year, exactly 12 months ago, you would have made 137% of your money.
Yeah. So you would have pretty much doubled your money.
Pretty much double your money.
Yeah. So
Pretty
with
much.
Bitcoin, it's conviction. Whoever has conviction in Bitcoin, they're gonna do it. Blockchain technology, they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
I've read about it. I've learned about it. I have like a very small understanding of it. I'm not gonna mess around, man. I spent 7 years trying to learn real estate, and I'm
Yeah.
figuring out new things every single day through conversations, through reading, through books,
Right.
and we have different courses as well, right? And
Right.
legislation is always changing. There's always something new. I went
Yeah.
to a council meeting in Delta, and we're trying to densify areas,
Right.
and there's a bunch of families that are saying no, we don't want to densify it. And then when you look at the data, how there's 1.5 million, like million plus people that are being brought in each year, and there's only 250,000 homes being built to compensate those people. What's
Right.
happening to 750,000 people?
Right.
Right. And now Airbnb is getting attacked by the government,
Yeah, I
and
heard about that too.
they're pretty much monitoring, and they're putting taxations on this Airbnb business owners to
Right.
scale back so then there's enough rental properties for people to live in.
Right.
That's a huge problem in my
It is.
opinion.
It is a huge problem. So wait, back to the crypto thing. You're not investing in any crypto.
No,
That's
no,
not your cup of tea,
no.
dude.
I looked into Ethereum
I
a few years ago.
I have this video that I want to send you. There's a guy named Jeff Booth. He's actually from, I think he's from Victoria, so he's from BC, and he goes into detail about how Bitcoin could be a potential game changer for the economy. But I'll send it to you. And I think I don't know if, yeah, I can't say for sure, but I think, now there's Bitcoin ETFs coming out. Ethereum ETF been applied for. XRP won the lawsuit against SEC.
Yep.
There's so many things that are kind of validating the space in general. But I want
Yep.
you to watch this video because it changed my thoughts on Bitcoin. But I'll send it to you because it's really dense. But you have to sit there and actually understand how money works in the economy and then see where it
Yeah.
goes. So, but no position. You don't own any Bitcoin? No. Okay.
I got no conviction for it.
Yeah.
I understand. I
Yeah.
understand how everything gets layered and you can transfer $1 billion in a fraction of a second
Right.
for marginal cost. Uh, yeah, I just haven't delved deep enough.
I'll send you this video because I think it'll change your perspective on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I get messages all the time from friends. They're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, Karn, you're investing in houses. You keep talking about investing in homes. Why
Yeah.
don't you do something in Bitcoin?"
Right.
And I
Yeah.
was like, "No, man, leave me out of it."
Yeah, dude, I make a concerted effort to like try and understand the changes that happen in the world.
Yep.
Even us doing the social media thing. At first, I was like, no, 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 no. And now there's like YouTubers like Mr. Beast and all these guys are doing so well on social media. So I
Yep.
stopped trying to play that game of trying to like just stick to my niche. I'm like, oh, maybe I should look at this.
Just expand into it. It's just good for knowledge.
And yeah, and I learned so much about the economy and like macroeconomics just by
Yep.
looking into Bitcoin. Like
Yep.
that's where I think about like my passion for stocks, investments, real estate, all this stuff. I look at where it started. It actually started from Bitcoin, believe it or not.
That's funny.
And the reason it started from Bitcoin, when I was 16 years old, my cousin came to me and
Yep.
said, put $1,000 in Bitcoin.
That's
At
it.
that time, I want to say it was like 10 cents per Bitcoin.
Yeah.
He's like, take $1,000. He's like, just put it in it, forget it.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't do it. I was too broke. I was a 16-year-old, whatever, high school student.
$1,000
Uh,
is a lot, man.
but he did. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure he bought like 2 or 3 houses after that. It
Yeah.
went up. He sold, bought a bunch of houses, and then it dipped. And then again, he buys in, goes up, he
Yep.
sells, and he buys in again. He just keeps doing that. So I
The
think right
Warren
now
Buffett.
last I saw, he had like 500K in Bitcoin.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
crazy.
I stopped being closed off to like Bitcoin because I was like, I don't understand it at first, but after I did some research, I was like, okay, maybe.
It's okay to kind of open yourself to new ideas, but then my thought is I don't want to be too spread thin.
Yeah, that's true too.
I just want to know the information for the sake of knowing it in case
Mhm.
it does help me down the road.
Right.
Am I gonna kind of open up myself to potential risks,
For sure.
especially when I'm running so thin and so lean? I don't want to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's hard to know. It's hard to know, except maybe in Bitcoin's case, it changes the way the economy runs, and then
Yeah.
it's like
So
you have
that
no
part is
choice.
interesting. A lot of
Right.
people, the way they look at it and the way I've been sold on it is it's this big dream, right? With all these
Yeah.
coins, NFTs. And that's where I start becoming a little bit more skeptical,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
especially
Yeah.
when it's too good to be true. And unless I know something about something, I'm not gonna do
Yeah.
it, man.
I'll send you this because I think it will change your mind on it.
Sure.
Because what it does is it strips the fluff of the NFTs and the Web3, all that. It strips all the garbage out of it, and
Yep.
it simplifies it so much that you're like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to say, right? But we'll see. But
Hey, I got a question.
that's my little thing on Bitcoin is just I think it's important to understand, and even just if you know about it and then choose not to invest, that's cool too. Like
Yeah, of
I'm not here
course.
trying to promote people to invest. I don't get anything from Bitcoin, so
No, no, no. We're not like monetized by promoting other businesses and other companies, but knowing for the sake of knowing and just having knowledge, that's important.
exactly.
Anything knowledge based, I will just consume it. If somebody tells me it's good for me, I'll go consume it. And then I'll just
Yeah,
make the decision myself. And only the people that want you to succeed will give you this advice.
100%.
I've noticed that in everything. Anybody that wants to see me succeed is the only person that's going to be like, "Hey, Karn, go read this book or maybe go take this course, take this test, maybe do this exercise because it'll help you in whatever part of your area of your life."
Yeah, on 100%. You think we could get Jeff on our podcast?
Yeah, you know what? Let's watch his videos first so we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I've watched actually a lot of his stuff because it really in my mind, it made sense. And I think that's
Yeah.
the big part, was truly understanding it. But yeah, I'll send you that video. Check it out. Sweet. I think we hit every topic that we wanted to hit today. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we sign off here?
No, I think it's good.
Sweet.
The first of many.
Dude, this is actually kind of fun, no?
This is good. I'm comfortable sitting at home.
Dude, I
We were
love it.
around for
I
a
think
little bit, trying to figure everything out, the assortment, but now it's all done.
yeah, man, I think people are gonna like this as much as our actual podcast with guests.
Yeah.
Yo, I think especially if we're talking finances, it'd be cool if we got like your Tej on an episode
Yes.
and started talking to him about, because I'm really curious what his thoughts are on Bitcoin.
His thoughts will be good.
Exactly. He spends all day thinking about money and how it works.
That's all
So
he does. He's the money man.
you
Anybody
could be
that's in the money
Mr. Money
in the money
Canada.
game, I need, yeah. Anybody that's in the money game, we'll bring them on one by one and just
Yeah, we should.
improve our own lives. This is the way I see it, man. Anything that I'm doing right now, inadvertently, as soon as it goes online, it's actually information that I want to know for myself. Inadvertently, it helps other people because they're thinking the same questions. They just don't have either the opportunity, the time, or maybe the technology to log in,
Yeah.
or they don't have access to the people that we have access to.
Or they don't try, right? Or they don't make an attempt.
Yeah, I don't want to say they don't want to try. I'll just use every other excuse. I
Yeah.
want to make an assumption that
No, most
everybody
people
has.
don't try. Most people
I
don't try.
know.
Dude,
My
but
assumption,
that's what I love, because like all this time I've been talking about real estate with you, it's like I'm learning so much.
yeah.
And even just like doing these, people think like, oh, you live stream to get attention. I'm like, yeah, maybe a part of it, but I learned so much by doing it. I get to talk about things that I'm passionate about. It's just like time flies, you know?
Yeah, it
Same with
does.
the podcast. So
How long was this video, by the way?
let me check. I think I want to say an hour. Yeah, I want to say about an hour. Maybe
About an hour? I
maybe a
think this
little
is the right amount, like four, maybe five big
points.
topics
Yeah.
that are happening.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm going to stop recording here. We're pretty much good, eh?
Cool. You want to do this on a regular, on a
Yeah,
regular
heck
basis?
yeah, dude. This is fun.
Weekly?
100%.
Cool. I'll work on bringing more guests to the studio and
Yeah.
more kind of dynamic
Dude, honestly, and this is remote. Like we could set this up within 15, 20 minutes, get guests on here. Like,
yeah.
dude, next one, I really want Mr. Money Canada on here because I can want to talk to him about some of the stuff.
You know what? We'll save this one clip and just send it to him. We'll
Yeah, I'm
post
going
it
to
up.
crop this up and send it to
This
him.
is the one that we're gonna put on, and he'll come on because I have him coming on probably like January, February,
Yeah.
just for the new changes that are gonna happen for the new year.
Yeah.
So we'll just squeeze him in December time.
Done deal. Done deal.
Cool.
All right,
Okay.
Karn, thanks for jumping on, man.
Let's
I'll
log
see
off
you.
for. Hey, is this unconventional too, or is this
Oh, we
unconventional
got to
live?
have a different name for this.
Yeah, I guess it would be market thoughts or market behaviors, or we'll think of something. I
Yeah,
think we're going through
it'll
the
come
same
to us.
process as we were when we went live the first time, just making up random names.
Yeah, it'll come to us
Something
eventually.
will happen. Okay, wicked.
Okay, all right, sweet. I'll
All
see you
right.
next week.